When you woke up this morning, did you know you were going to be receiving the vaccine?
I did, yes. So, all of my staff, we are excited to get the vaccine. We are in the COVID unit, so therefore, my team will be getting first chances to get the vaccine. And I know that it's really, I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy. Oh, I'm sorry.
Where is she? My God, who the hell's that?
She was one of the first people to get it in the state of Tennessee. You don't remember
Get what?
The Pfizer vaccine.
Wait a minute. Which Pfizer vaccine are you talking about? The
The
fourth one or the fifth one?
No, dude, the first one.
Oh, my God. What are we talking about, 2020?
And I can't find a seconder usually when I propose this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the quality of legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. You found the Backstory Podcast, number 137. Preposterous. Contrary to nature, reason, or common sense. Synonym of the word absurd. So, Paul, it's the only time I actually wished Raines was on here with us, because I believe preposterous is a Latin word meaning putting the back end first or doing something absurd. Doesn't posterious and posterior, all that stuff. Seems like it's all
right.
part of the romance languages.
Sounds like Baldwin County had quite a few words.
It does. So speaking of preposterous,
oh my God.
So this is the sample ballot, and I'm going to we're going to go through this because everybody calls me and asks me what they ought to do on their ballot, and so I thought we would do a play-by-play, Mr. Ripp.
Okay, I'm gonna stand by and listen.
Okay, well, I don't believe in pulling one of those up here, right? Straight party voting, so. I'm going to have to vote for Governor Ivey, who I know couldn't hold down a job as a greeter at Walmart, but who else you going to vote for?
I don't know, but whatever you people do, don't straight ticket vote. My God, please don't do that.
Nope,
go ahead,
that's
Harry.
why I'm going through these. So then Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, y'all do realize that he's like, his dad's very wealthy, and all he's got to do in life is not blow it. So and then Ruth Page Nelson, I don't know anything about her. United States Senator, of course, Katie Britt is going to win that thing. You call that a sure thing? Let's say she's over the hump. This will make it official. Yeah, and so then Jerry Carl, of course, he has to run every other year.
And Jerry had no one running against him, or did he?
Yeah, but he's in the, that runoff's over with. This is the general election coming up in November, Paul.
Correct.
So, yeah, all that's been parsed out. So it's Democrat versus Republican, and Alexander Rimray. I don't know anything about them because the Democratic Party is dysfunctional and non-existent. So, and completely irrelevant.
I think that could go for both parties.
No, not when you're raising billions. You're not irrelevant. For Secretary of State, I'm actually going to go out here on a limb and say vote for Matt Shelby, the Libertarian candidate. State Treasurer, of course, Young Boozer. We know who he is. We know how he is. State Auditor, I just threw an acronym on there. I hope you guys won't make me explain that to you. And then for Agriculture Commissioner, Rick Pate is a Republican. We know what we're getting. We've seen him before. For Public Service Commission, this is where the Libertarian candidate shines, boys and girls. Jeremy Odom is the epitome of what's wrong with the Public Service Commission, and he needs to go. Now, here's what's wrong with the rest of the ballot. Do you see all of these people who are running unopposed?
Right.
You went out the Republican primary and you essentially run unopposed for Baldwin County Commission.
Go to the next slide.
Okay, well, I'm just saying I don't know that.
These people.
I don't know
unopposed.
that.
Sorry.
I don't know that Mr. Barnett wouldn't be a better choice than Mr. Gruber.
Yeah.
Given the fact that he too is so old, he couldn't hold down a job at Walmart as a greeter.
I'm surprised Gruber's been in there that
But
long.
he's a full-time county commissioner. And then, of course, you see no one can run against the sheriff, so he runs unopposed because you had to be born on a Tuesday with 3 fingers on your right hand and no left testicle.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake.
So then, of course, you see the sheriff's employee and the only man who can arrest him, Brian Pierce, I'm saying his employee at his private business, Mack Funeral Home, where Brian Pierce is one of the undertakers. And also moonlights as our coroner.
No conflict there.
We'll get to the absurdity of that in a minute. So, I did want to throw him down here all the way at the bottom for Associate Justice Greg Cook. If you were on the campaign trail like me, I heard Mr. Cook speak many times, and he says, I'm just boring old Judge Cook. You know what you're going to get and all this. Well, he wrote the opinion, the majority opinion in Lanyap versus Mack, the Public Records Act. And I'm still suggesting that you vote for him over the Democratic candidate, okay? So, for Public Service Commission Place 1, I just talked about that, Ron Bishop, the Libertarian candidate. Again, Chip Beaker, the Republican candidate, do not vote for him. Vote for Laura Lane, the Libertarian candidate. Man,
you're going to Libertarian there.
You got to understand, the Public Service Commission is bought and paid for by Alabama Power Company and the other interests like Baldwin County Sewer System, and we will get to the preposterousness of that in a minute.
All right.
Scott Taylor runs unopposed. Bob Wilters runs unopposed. Brian Pierce runs unopposed. Are you kidding me?
That's sad.
Come on, man. Look over here. Board of Education. 2 places, unopposed. So, constitutional amendment proposing the recomposition and accordance and rearranging the proper parts and sections and doing away with duplications. Does that make sense? Consolidating provisions regarding economic development. Arranging all local amendments by county of application. And making no other changes. Anyway, we got to find out about that because that can have some nefarious stuff hidden in it. Economic development, it's illegal for the county or the state to lend its credit to private enterprise.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go in and they cut a big deal and they say, well, we're going to forgive you taxes, right? That's how we incentivize these people. All right, let's keep it moving. So, Greg, Preposterous. That Greg Albritton, the what is bought and paid for by the Porch Creek Indians? Is that anything this side of the truth? I'm pretty sure that's pretty much what he is. So mostly. Now, everybody needs to understand how preposterous this is. The reason that we have Vivian Figures, a Democrat, defending her seat in District 33, and you got to understand her district now includes parts of Spanish Fort because we had to gerrymander
and redistrict
everyone out of Chris Elliott's district who could possibly beat him, which was pretty much anybody with a heartbeat. But
so he went unopposed, just like Haas did. Boy, I tell you what, Chris pays attention to Haas. He's learned from him. Eliminate all competition.
So anyway,
Before the election.
so everybody likes Donna Givens, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you know what Donna Givens' day job was right before she retired and decided to run for state house?
I do not know.
She's the marketing person for the power company,
Oh.
EMC. And so she goes around and hands out little checks from the power company to the schools and all this. And I mean, you know, who could have a better pixie dust ass job than going around handing out money and telling them how good the power company is?
Right. Especially
Nobody.
when it's not your money.
So anyway, I'm sure she's a shoe-in. I don't know anything about Jeff May, the Libertarian candidate, and that is my fault, Mr. May. If you want to send us some information, we'd love to learn more about you. For State Representative 65, you know, this is on up the road. Representative 66, Alan Baker runs unopposed. And, of course, here you got Jennifer Fiddler. I don't know anything about Maggie Havelston. I just don't. And then, of course, 95, you're going to have Francis Hope Jones walk into that one real easy.
Jennifer will walk into her slot easy, too. She did a very good campaign and brought out the grassroots people that have known her family forever.
So you know why Francis kept the hyphenate? Hope Jones, right?
Why is that?
Her daddy was Mayor Hope. He ran Foley for about 40 years back in the bad old days.
Yeah.
Member of the Baldwin County Board of Education, unopposed. You see what I mean?
Yeah, really.
Matt Simpson, unopposed. Shane Stringer over in Mobile, unopposed. And that is Shane Stringer, who is no longer employed by the sheriffs. You remember him? He proposed the permitless carry.
Correct.
Okay, Constitutional Amendment number 1. Let's see. Is it easier to read it on the screen or here or there? Anyway, this is that Annihila's Law thing, which says prior to, you know, the Constitution of the United States says that everyone is entitled to bail. Okay?
Right.
Far be it from the state of Alabama or any of these jacklegs to be wrong, but they're saying if you are already out, if you're already out on bond and you're known to be a violent criminal and you've done something like rape, sodomy, sexual torture, domestic violence in the first degree, human trafficking, first degree burglary, you know, the list is long and long, and they're playing on the heartstrings of this, and judges have discretion. They can set what is an exorbitant bail that this gentleman here will never be able to make. You see what I mean? You can set Jeffrey Epstein's bail where he can't get his ass but anywhere but to court on the day of trial. That's the thing. We want him to come back and stand trial. Now, you know, what happened to this young lady is a tragedy. I think if we pass this constitutional amendment, we'll be defending it in front of the Supreme Court. So knock yourselves out. I don't think it'll ever go into effect. But
we spend a lot of time in front of the Supreme Court.
Right. I think that's why we have an attorney general. So so these are going down the page, and this is just for ease for me. State Constitution Amendment number 6. Each municipality is authorized under Amendment number 8 of the Constitution, now appearing in Section 206, recompiled in Constitution. You see how bad this is?
Yeah.
So they're authorized to levy and collect ad valorem taxes pursuant to Amendment number 8 for the purposes of paying bonds and interest thereon, and may also collect such ad valorem taxes and utility such funds for capital improvements on a pay-as-you-go basis. A rate not to exceed the rate then lawfully permitted for the municipality to directly pay for the cost of the public capital improvements. So this is where you get access to my brain, okay, Paul? So let me tell you something. So you ever heard the term arbitrage?
Right.
Okay. So the county can't go borrow money at 2% and then loan it out at 20%. Start their own title loan company. That they're borrowing the money for a particular purpose. They have to tell the people who are buying the debt what they're using it for, and there's a scheduled repayment schedule, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. What they're saying is Mobile County has a pay-as-you-go road program. That's what got Jerry Carl in the damn House of Representatives or whatever, right? Very popular. Pay-as-you-go program. But I think what they were getting into was it was getting into the pockets of the bond council and the people who go out there and raise this debt and sell it. So it can't be any way for the county to actually save any money, you understand? They can't do it any cheaper than they could borrow the money and pay it back.
Somebody always figures out a different way or something wrong.
Okay, so I want to know who's sponsoring that because it sounds like a bunch of hooey to me. Statewide Amendment number 2, I just said, yeah, go ahead and vote for that. Allows for the state to give money to private entities for the expansion of broadband. Well, what else are we going to do? Hire a bunch of linemen and go out there and put the lines in ourselves? Of course not. Statewide Amendment 7 revises Amendment 722 to the Constitution of 1901. Amendment 722 projects are to be published in a newspaper and circuit. So basically they're saying, hey, man, you can do stuff for economic development purposes, but you got to run it in the paper. You can't go into executive session and then come out and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. Kind of like Baldwin County just did.
Yeah.
They're saying you can't do that no more in this Constitution.
Yeah. And what paper?
General circulation. So I don't know why they're doing this amendment number 5, but it says to delete a provision that the probate courts of each county have general jurisdiction over orphans' business. Well, it's in the Constitution, and that's how we've always done it. Anyway,
Kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it conflicts with the Uniform Probate Code. I know Alabama adopted that probably 20 years ago now. So why clean it up now? You see what I mean? If it was a problem and we kept tripping over it. Okay. Number 10 is just library issues, how we codify and amend and transfer and how we number things to make it make sense.
What?
You ready for this, Paul?
Oh, yeah, I know you
Relating
got one
to Shelby County, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Alabama of 1901 to bring certainly private-owned sewer systems that use public right-of-ways of public roads under the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission under certain circumstances. Okay, what are those circumstances?
No kidding, boy, is that broad.
All right, so there's another one on here, and somehow I left it out.
Boy, that sure is broad, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's another one in here, and I'm going to read it to you because I screwed it up. I didn't put it in on here.
Wonder if that got in there because of your action knocking on the door all the damn time.
So there's another one, too, statewide amendment number 9, relating to Jefferson County and Tuscaloosa County, proposing an amendment to the Constitution of 1901 to bring certain privately owned sewer systems that use public right-of-ways or public roads in the city limits of Lakeview under the jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission beginning January 1st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2027. Is indeed, Mr. Ripp.
Well.
Preposterous that you would bring them under the jurisdiction and then that would end at some point in the future. 3-4 years from now.
Right. That's a marriage. It never gets a divorce.
Okay, so do you remember this? And I'm going to blow it up so you can read it. Alabama Department of Environmental Management, notice of a public hearing proposing underground injection control permit and request for comments held May 19th, 6:30 at the Erie Meyer Civic Center. UIC permit number ALS 9002013, Baldwin County Sewer Service, domestic sanitary effluent for the wastewater treatment plant to a Class 5 injection well at the Fort Morgan Treatment Plant located on Highway 180 in Gulf Shores, Alabama. So, Paul, how you reckon that one played out for them?
They got stopped, didn't they?
Well,
I think they got stopped.
It might just be preposterous what happened, Paul.
Okay,
you want to watch? You want to watch just a little bit of it?
Sure.
Come to order, please. Good evening, and welcome to the public hearing on behalf of the Alabama Department of Environmental Management. At this time, I would ask everybody to please mute or turn off your cell phones. My name is Christy Monk. I'm the designated hearing officer for these proceedings. The role of the hearing officer is limited to ensuring an orderly hearing so that an accurate record of this hearing may be developed.
Good luck with that, sweet cheeks.
I now recognize Jenny Williams, Director of Marketing and Customer Relations for Baldwin County Sewer Services, to make a statement at this time.
That's them, not me, all that feedback.
Right.
Hello, I am Jenny Williams with Baldwin County Sewer Service, also known as BCSS. I am here today to respectfully request the department's approval of the recently submitted application to increase the treated discharge capacity of the Fort Morgan wastewater treatment plant under its current underground injection control permit. The request is being made to allow BCSS to respond to the needs of the Fort Morgan service area. It is important to note that this increase is neither being sought for the expansion of the service area of the Fort Morgan plant, nor to accept flow from outside of the current service area. The Fort Morgan plant will continue to serve the same geographic areas and communities that it has provided for over 30 years.
Animal Ecology and Biology from Iowa State University within the College of Natural Resources, Ecology, and Management. And though I'm only here on vacation, I felt that I needed to speak on this subject. As a recent graduate, I am one of many future wildlife environmental managers being forced to advocate to prevent pollution already known to cause harm.
All right, I don't know that hippie, but I think I know Rhonda Richardson.
I now recognize Rhonda Richardson Cavides.
I see our buddy Gabe.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was his last gig.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm needing to adjust this.
There you go.
All right, so getting the name and everything out of the way and who I'm here representing. My name is Rhonda Richardson Caviedes, and I'm a resident of Dallas, Texas, with strong ties to Alabama and the Gulf Shores. I am here representing a number of individuals, my parents, Charles and Mary Richardson, and I am representing the Lagoon Mobile Home Subdivision Property Owners Association, and I am here as a member of the Little Lagoon Preservation Society. So with that, I'll begin my talk. Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I was born and reared in Alabama. I received my mechanical engineering degree and my law degree from University with residential area. Not only is it too close to those homes, but the lagoon has been operating in a careless fashion and has subjected the folks who live there next door to a constant assault from noxious odors and swarms of insects. In May of 2021, BCSS began clear-cutting the land immediately adjacent to my parents' property and that of some other residents of the subdivision to prepare the site for the sludge lagoon. BCSS, however, had not given ADM notice as required in its 2014 UIC permit as planned changes in the sludge disposal practice, and I quote, which according to the permit provides, quote, sludge stabilization / digestion methods, end quote, and the lagoon is clearly a digestion method, and had not obtained a tree permit, stormwater permits, or land disturbance permits from any authority having jurisdiction.
Okay, so how do you do all that, Paul, and then come apply to expand your plant for deep well injection?
You just don't give a damn. They just do what the hell they want to do.
All right,
Period.
well, we're gonna listen to some of my people here in a second.
Period.
Recognize Mayor Robert Kraft.
Oh my goodness, he came out of hyper sleep.
Well, thank you. I'm not going to go into great detail. I had a prepared speech, but I don't think it's necessary. I think you've heard all of the great information here, and it is incumbent on you. And we, as much as I can, I demand that you pay attention. This meeting would not have happened had we not talked Director LaFleur into having it. It was not scheduled to happen until we realized that this community...
So he got a mouse in his pocket or something?
I don't know.
Not been heard from. We've got to deal with the consequences of your decisions. And we've got a negligent operator. We've seen that. This illegal expansion of a non-conforming use of the property
negligent
would not have happened had they gone through the process, but they didn't go through the process. They
Totally
built it illegally.
unregulated.
They're gonna have to move it, and it has caused real problems for our surrounding the people that live there. I've been out there. You would not want to have to breathe out there. It was that bad. So we've got an operator that hadn't done it. There's a lot of quotes and a lot of data relating to items where they have been outside their permit, things that they've done that were not supposed to do. So there's a degree of negligence that someone needs to be paying attention to. I will also proclaim that A&M's been negligent too.
Absolutely.
You're no longer
Hello.
collecting samples and and you're wanting to add more. And let me ask you this, because this is a real concern. You can't shut off sewer to someone. So you open this up, you give them another up to 2 million gallons, and they add another 400 or 500 homes on here. And it's wrong, and you mess up, and it is a problem. What are you going to do? You can't shut them off.
The county's going to have to clean it up, literally. You know what I mean?
Unregulated.
I don't mean like kind of a little bit or any of that, right?
All of it.
Overdeveloped, and there's no plans in place, and we're begging city and county officials to stop issuing permits and start issuing permits at a minimum of 1/4 to 1/2 an acre per home, because that's going to get D.R. Horton and Truland and everybody out of this area. They'll run real quickly. But I want to tell you a real story about something that happened.
Wow, this guy figured out who all's behind all this. I don't know how much longer he's going to be walking around. Well, Paul, has it gotten absurd enough for you yet?
Do what?
Has it gotten preposterous enough for you yet?
Well, it totally is. Nothing surprises me anymore. Nothing at all. I mean, it is just so damn bizarre that I don't know how to explain it. The Ripp report this week is Alabama black hole, and you talk about preposterous. This goes back to the letter that was originally written to the Attorney General and the Governor, Ethics Commission, Judiciary, and the Bar. And this was 2 months ago, addressing the issue of the Executive Director of the Ethics Commission, Mr. Tom Albritton, and his lawyer friends and now judge friends that all got scholarships from the Mabel Amos Trust, which he was the trustee of. I was reading back on some of those notes and everything, Harry, and he commented twice that since he'd been in the Ethics Commission, he didn't take any of those scholarships, but that's not what the records show. The records show he did take another 15,000, and right now I think he's got it about 120,000. Now, what's so preposterous about this, folks, is that I talked to the Attorney General face to face about this, and he told me, he said, call Clark Morris, the Chief Office of Special Prosecution, send them all your information and everything, and we'll look into it. Nothing has happened. Now, Harry, as my attorney on this, we have been through mandamus. We have been through legitimate complaints to all of the officials that I'm telling you about, and absolutely no one wants to really do anything. And then what is more preposterous is that Lanyap is the only magazine paper that is writing anything that is ruffling any feathers or giving you any idea what's going on. AL.com's not touching it, and for sure the Baldwin County Courier would never write an article like that. But something's got to happen. But anyway, I wish that you would go to the article, read the article, also go back to the original Lanyap article. And I think it'll leave you shaking your head as to how can something like this happen, be publicly exposed, complaints from one end to the other, and no one do anything at all. Nothing. That's where it is so far. But I'm going to keep pushing the buttons, and we'll see what happens, Harry.
Yeah, well, the only way, but it doesn't matter the buttons you push. The people that we have elected right now don't care.
That's what I'm saying. They're shameless. They're shameless.
It is preposterous.
They're totally shameless, and it goes all the way across the board. The municipalities are just as bad. They're taking a page out of the Goat Hill playbook too, and that's say nothing, do nothing.
So, Paul, you remember last week we had Joshua Brown on with the Bay Minette Justice League, and that was
Correct.
created in the wake of the officer-involved shooting of Otis French Jr.
Correct.
And this was a slide that we showed of their peaceful protest. You see, there's a little play going on here about the removal of the county seat. And I just thought that, and of course the Lanyap covered it. You see all the people who showed up and the protest signs that they had, that they want the full release of the video, that the officer involved in the shooting was allegedly fired for racial profiling, allegedly fired from Plomaton. Obviously, they know who it is, but he still hasn't been named, which is preposterous.
And he's back on the job.
Okay, well, so let's talk about that for a minute. Remember how I told you I knew who the officer was?
Right.
Because,
I think we named him on the last show.
Well, you said you knew who it was. So anyway, I said I knew who it was.
That was a rumor.
Because I was involved in a case and he was the charging officer.
Right.
And
we don't know anything because it's all rumors.
And so when I went to court, he wasn't there because he was on admin leave. One of 26 officers they had. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So anyway, when I went to court this last week, they threw a lieutenant at me, somebody with rank, and said, well, let's make a deal, which was denied last time. Preposterous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
on all levels.
On all levels. And I don't have any kind of update from them. Do you? I went to their Facebook page, and I did not see where anyone had where they had any kind of update.
Yeah, well, there's been another article by Scott Johnson in the Lanyap, Respect for Everyone's Privacy. Bay Minette shields officers' ID, but names the motorist in an apparent no-fault fatality. On Monday, Bay Minette Police Chief Al Tolbert issued a press release concerning a traffic accident on October 15th, which caused the death of an 83-year-old resident, William Thomas Wright. Wright was hit by a vehicle near the entrance of Circle K gas station while attempting to cross DeOlive Street Sunday morning around 8 p.m.
D'Olive.
According to Tolbert. The victim was airlifted to U.S. Medical Center. Later, he died from his injuries. Tolbert stated in the press conference an initial investigation did not indicate any negligence on the part of the driver, and that the driver remained on the scene and had been fully cooperative with law enforcement. He stated an investigation is still ongoing, and the case will be presented to the grand jury when the investigation is completed, which is standard procedure, even when no crime is suspected. Now, despite this, Tolbert named the driver of the vehicle, identified him as a 71-year-old Bay Minette resident. But the naming of the motorist in the recent incident appears to directly contradict Bay Minette's decision to continue to shield the name of the officer who shot 32-year-old O.J. French Jr. on August 20th during a traffic routine stop, which escalated. So you can see that, you know, it seems like one thing's under investigation, the other isn't. We'll release this. We're not going to release that. Let me tell you, this is what I see as happening, that I have seen happen again and again and again. They call a grand jury. Wait a minute. They call a grand jury. Everyone needs to know the grand jury is secret. So no one knows anything about what has happened in the grand jury. But what happens years later in many cases is you find out things that were said in the grand jury or told the grand jury that were not accurate, that come out in trials. And so there's no way of knowing. I mean, are the police going to go and say something that the police did wrong to the grand jury? No way. It's going to be painted totally in the favor the police without any accountability or transparency. The Baldwin County Major Crimes Unit, them investigating themselves, is a mockery of justice.
Preposterous, I would say.
Preposterous.
All right, so I'm going to assume.
Watch and see. That's what's going to happen now with the O.J. French thing. They're going to come out with a grand jury, and then they're going to say, okay, well, the grand jury's over, and you're saying the investigation. Well, we're still investigating, so we can't release it. Now, they already released it to the grand jury, but they're not going to release it later. Watch and see.
Paul, watch and see. Okay, well, let me tell you what's going to happen. His family's going to file a federal lawsuit, and it ain't going to matter a hill of shit what Alabama judges say or anything else.
And that's what has to happen.
The federal court, that's how we'll see it, is through a federal lawsuit.
Right.
And think of all the expense this family had to go through just to see whether or not the police acted properly when they took their child's life. That's
and let's
crazy.
remember, the Jonathan Victor case may pave the road for this one because Judge Cassidy denied qualified immunity to Huey Mack and the shooter on that one,
Hunniday,
and they are appealing that. So we're waiting on that appeal to come down. But
we're waiting on that bag of cash to land. So I'm assuming you haven't seen this preposterous video, so I'm gonna let it run and let you figure out what's going on for yourself. Okay.
All right.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
Okay, see the coach out on the field hollering at the official?
Yeah.
Okay, watch the head coach. Wham!
Who is that?
Body slam.
Who is that?
Let's see.
Is that Alabama?
Dothan head coach Jed Kennedy slams volunteer assistant coach on their go-ahead TD against Opelika after the assistant gets a sidelines interference flag from the official.
Okay, it's a little physical in it, but then again, football is physical. So what?
Well, it's a little over the top. So I thought I'd go back to this for a second and just show you. So do you know who this is? The director of the CDC, and she came along and she said everything we're doing at the CDC is totally effed, and we got to rethink it all. And after having her 2 regular vaccinations and her 2 boosters and everything else, she now has COVID and is at home with a thermometer in her mouth. Like symptomatic, not like just kind of got COVID, like she's got COVID pretty bad enough that everybody knows about it, and she's the director.
Well, I've had all 4 shots.
Yeah, well, that's on you, Mr. Ripp. So you know who these 2 guys are, right? So we're gonna watch a little something, and I'm gonna let this run, and we're gonna watch it as long as we care to. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us to see this important film. I think it's Bobby's best book and most important book, and it's certainly
that'd be Robert Kennedy
most
Jr.
film.
Bobby,
may I ask you a favor? If you like it, will you please share this after you see the film? It really is the only way that we'll get this out there. It's free for 10 days, and we're asking you to join us by sharing. Thank you for joining us in this mission.
Don't show a ton of it.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. The dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it.
This book is a product of my own struggle to understand how the idealistic institutions our country built to safeguard both public health and democracy suddenly turned against our citizens and our values with such violence. I am a lifelong Democrat whose family has had 80 years of deep engagement with America's public health bureaucracy. and long friendships with key federal regulators, including Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, and Robert Gallo. Members of my family wrote many of the statutes under which these men govern. They nurtured the growth of equitable and effective public health policies and defended that regulatory bulwark against ferocious attacks funded by industry. I built my own alliances with these individuals and their agencies during my years of environmental and public health advocacy.
Quiet on set. Camera speed.
But I also watched how the industry, supposedly being regulated, used its indentured servants on Capitol Hill and its financial clout to systematically hollow out those agencies beginning in the 1980s, disabling their regulatory function and transforming them into sock puppets for the very industry Congress charged them with regulating. I explore the carefully planned militarization and monetization of medicine that has left American health ailing and our democracy shattered. I chronicle the troubling role of the dangerously concentrated mainstream media.
You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science.
Big tech robber barons, the military and intelligence communities, and their deep historical alliance with Big Pharma and the public health agencies. The disturbing story that unfolds here has never been told, and many in power have worked hard to prevent the public from learning it. The principal character is Anthony Fauci.
So part one, Paul, is an hour and 47 minutes, hour and 50 minutes long, and it's free right now. You can go watch it online. So, I thought that we would follow up that information with watching a little bit of this. And you're aware there's a European Union and that they have a Congress of like 500 people, the European Union does.
Right.
The European Union Parliament. And
Correct.
So anyway, I want to say France, Germany, I don't know what she is. She's speaking some foreign language. This guy is like one of those strongman figures in his country, and this guy's like some young hippie, but they both agree that what's going on here is not good. So let's watch a little bit of this. This is a press conference after Pfizer CEO refuses to answer in front of the European Parliament.
Thank you so much for coming to this press conference, almost 24 hours after the CEO of Pfizer, Mr. Albert Bourla, was supposed to be present in the European Parliament in the special committee to investigate what happened during COVID. And unfortunately, he was absent. He sent a representative who was unable, incapable, or unwilling to answer many of the questions asked by my colleagues. So we are here today. It's October the 11th. I'm here with more colleagues from different political groups from different countries who will be addressing some of the issues that were supposed to be discussed yesterday. So I would like to give the floor to my colleague from Italy, Francesca Donato.
Thank you very much, Christian. Well, the conduct of Pfizer-BioNTech, the biggest pharmaceutical company involved in the COVID-19 vaccines production, is deplorable and unacceptable in a democratic framework as the European Union one. Yesterday.
So how come nobody over here is calling for hearings and dragging people? Somebody besides Rand Paul. Like
got me.
Okay.
In the official Parliament, European Parliament Special Committee for COVID Pandemic Management, the Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla refused to appear to answer our legitimate questions about his private text messages with the President of EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen.
Okay, and so Ursula von der Leyen is the head of the European Union, and she is Dutch, and she allegedly is got a burner phone that she's texting with the Pfizer CEO when they're hammering out the details of how much they're going to pay and whether it's going to be required, and all these things are in this contract that nobody can see.
That have already been considered to be irregular, according to the Transparency EU regulation, by the EU Ombudsman and the EU Court of Auditors. He has sent Mrs. Small in his place, who has not answered the most important questions that our special committee has addressed to her regarding the company's price policy, the release of clinical trials reports, adverse effects, and other issues concerning the safety and efficacy of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. The continuous non-fulfillment of the duties of transparency by Pfizer's executives clearly violates the EU citizens' rights to know in detail how and for which purpose the taxpayers' money is spent. We're discussing about billions of public money that has been managed by the EU Commission by secret agreements directly conducted with the company's CEO.
I mean, we're sitting here bitching about the prisons, right, and those things being secret, and the preposterousness of the marijuana applications being rated by Joe Bonner down at the University of South Alabama, right? I mean, but I mean, this is a huge issue, and I don't hear anybody talking about it like these people are. So let's give her a little more airtime.
Away from democratic control of people by their elected representatives in the EU Parliament. The refusal by President von der Leyen to disclose the content of their text messages first, and the denial by Mr. Burla to appear in front of the Parliament then, followed by the reticent behavior of Mrs. Small yesterday, casts concerning shadows on the legitimacy of the entire contract award process, leaving suspicion of corruption to emerge. Besides all of this, in all the discussions held yesterday and in previous auditions in COVID committee, all representatives of big pharmaceutical companies have shown a position that emphasizes the permanent threat for people's health given by the COVID pandemic, disregarding public and clear evidence about the mild symptoms given by the latest versions of SARS-CoV-2 virus currently circulating, thanks to which the emergency phase is officially over in all countries. Actually, Mrs. Small yesterday needed to announce a possible new variant being more aggressive as well as more contagious, disregarding any scientific literature, assessing that such evolution of a virus in nature is just impossible. The misuse of communication, falsely cloaked in scientific truth, is just disgusting and misleading. Joined with this inexcusable lack of transparency, it has the only outcome of destroying any trace of trust in the whole scientific community by European people.
So because there's no transparency, these people refuse to believe it. They're like me. Show me the damn video. Show me the clean shoot. Show me the contract. Show me the whatever. And they're telling these people who are elected officials, sorry, go suck an egg.
I think that companies who behave this way should be banned by the lobbies allowed to enter the Parliament and the Commission, and that further investigation is needed by competent authorities to let the truth come to light and to secure the full right of the EU citizens to transparency and public interest.
Now, you know who invented public corruption, right?
Who?
This woman's Italian. The freaking Italians won't stand for this shit.
Oriented EU policies.
Or they didn't get a piece of the pie.
Thank you so much. What was Pfizer got to hide? This is a question that we are all asking after we found out that the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, pulled out. The interesting thing is, a few weeks ago, the CEO of Moderna, we were criticizing these pharma companies, for being or for lacking transparency. But at least the CEO of Moderna had the courage, I would say, to come and answer questions. Yeah, he did not answer all the questions that we asked, but at least he was present here and was faced with all these questions that all of my colleagues asked. So obviously when we found out that the CEO of Pfizer decided not to come and answer questions, this is not an inquiry committee. So he was not bound by law to come, and, he was not on record, he was not facing any criminal punishments in case he's lying in front of this committee. But even in that case, he refused to come and answer some concrete and specific questions. Questions that I think all of us and all of you have. And the first question is, what exactly in these contracts? What are they hiding exactly? I mean, in the previous press conferences, I showed you some of the pages.
Check this out,
from
Paul.
These contracts. This is how they were disclosed to us and
That
to the
looks
public
like government
and to the press.
documents.
These people are elected representatives of their country. And this
Right.
is what Vandersloot or whatever her name is.
Obviously, after some of us and some of the brave journalists asked, what are the contracts signed between the European Commission and these pharmaceutical companies? So this is how they disclose the contracts. Over 100 pages. Every contract with Pfizer, with Moderna, tens of pages of those contracts were blacked out. So yesterday when we asked, I was the one asking, and some of my colleagues asked, when are they going to fully release these contracts? The representative of Pfizer, who was sent to replace the CEO of Pfizer, said that they can't fully disclose these contracts because they have some commercial secrets over there, and they have to protect their interests. Now I'm asking you, what about the interests of our people? What about the interests of the Europeans whose money was spent or wasted, I would say now?
You know what Pfizer plans to start charging for the new booster?
No.
$120 to $160.
Well, some
To
pretty
buy
hard
these medical
questions.
products that are not providing what they were marketed for. Because what we found out yesterday, when one of my colleagues asked if they tested, in this case Pfizer, if Pfizer tested, if their medical product is stopping the spread of the virus, we were shocked to find out yesterday that they haven't tested their vaccine to see if it's stopping the spread of the virus. So we are now more than a year after the green certificate, the digital green certificate was imposed in the European Union, and people were forced to be vaccinated with the medical product in order to exercise their basic fundamental rights, and they were told, and we were told. We were voted against the green certificate, but many of our colleagues voted in favor of it because they believe what these companies have said, that if you get vaccinated, you will not be infected and you will not spread the virus. They even ran a campaign and said, get vaccinated in order to keep your grandmother and your parents healthy.
So do you remember a year ago when you and Raines peer pressured me into getting the dang Pfizer vaccine? I mean,
For safety, absolutely.
Okay, well, what if it turned out that, number one, it did nothing? You remember Meemaw got on television last July and said it's the unvaccinated folks that's getting us all sick. Well, what if it turns out that was a lie? And they knew it was a lie.
What about smallpox? What about the flu? What about
we're not
all
talking
these
about
vaccines we've been
smallpox.
taking forever?
Because this isn't the vaccines you've been taking forever, Paul. This is an mRNA delivery system. It's a treatment. It's not a vaccine. It's not a vaccine. I don't know why we keep calling it one. Neither do these people. So let's listen to just a little bit of what else the Europeans think about all this.
And we find out now, after more than a year, that when they requested the special marketing authorization, they haven't tested the vaccine to see if it's stopping the spread of the virus. So I'm asking again, and we are asking again, what are they going to hide? What do they hide exactly? Why aren't they transparent with their medical product? We heard yesterday, I was shocked. Because Pfizer used this opportunity just to do a PR campaign And even lecture us, why are we asking this and not asking that? Who are they to question us? What kind of questions do we ask? We are elected by the people, for the people, not they. And they are supposed to answer all these questions, which they have not.
I kind of want to move wherever he is so I can vote for him, Paul.
Well, we'll see what happens. Was there any statement from Pfizer after all this hit the fan? What date was that you're showing me there?
That's 10 days ago.
Yeah.
10 days ago.
Any feedback since then from Pfizer?
No, they sent a lady who showed up, and Miss Small or whatever. Anyway. I'll share the link to both of the videos. But she basically gets up there and says, "I just can't tell you that. I'm not authorized to tell you that." And then, of course, here's the press conference after what we just watched, and I'll share the link to that too. Right. And then, of course, remember at the beginning we heard about how safe it was, and we saw that nurse fall out. That was just, and you got to understand, dude, that was like on live television. They did one of these, where they sit the lady down and give her the shot, and then she's up there talking, and next thing you know, bam, bag of potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course,
that's one. Now we're talking about something that's been given billions of times,
and we don't know. We don't know if people have renal failure because they took the vaccine or because they got COVID. But the truth of the matter is, I got double vaccinated plus the flu vaccine. Then I went on the campaign trail thinking I was fully vaccinated and protected. Ha ha ha. I got COVID 3 times, January, March, and July. And that's no joke. And I'm not a terribly unhealthy person. So, Paul, did you talk about absurdities? Did you have you seen this picture before? So,
no, I have not.
So you recall the picture? I showed you the people off camera here to the left, or with the protest signs. But this is Mayor Wilson and Searsucker, and then Cliff McCallum, who used to work for the paper, and he's representing the Eastern Shore folks, talking about the sorry people from Bay Minette stealing the courthouse. And there's Wills playing the role of I think he's supposed to be playing Judge Hall. Now, of course, here's the mural from the where is it? The Bay Minette public post office that was saved. It's actually around a door frame. It's really a cool looking picture. But you see this dude right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Judge Hall. You know who his great grandson is? Me. So you know how pissed off it makes me that Bob Wills is playing my grandfather? Really doesn't.
And it looks like they moved it in the middle of the night during all this. They don't,
Oh, yeah.
Started out being corrupt one way or another.
Well,
never has changed.
So I need to, so there's a couple of different family history stories, and I want to do them with my cousin on here because there's a completely different story from our family's perspective in that the sheriff was corrupt and all those communists that started the single tax colony were corrupt, and corrupt things were going on, and the only way to get rid of it was to steal the damn records and go to the legislature and have these people removed from office, which if you go back, Grant Blackburn did a legal treatise on this when he was in law school. So you can go back and read the transcripts of the hearing and everything. And the sheriff was ultimately removed from office over this. So this ain't the first time we've had to go to extreme measures because we had a crooked ass sheriff. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So what about the last issue?
Preposterous. Alabama Supreme Court tells lower courts to stop electronic bingo in 2 counties. So guess what? Bad news for all those on the casino teat.
Yep.
PCI better hope their rich uncle dies to help pay all the bribes necessary to un-F this.
They're open, then they're closed. Then they're open, then they're closed. Wait till the marijuana thing starts kicking in. It'll be a complete merry-go-round. And I see you have Telling It Forward, the Clotilda documentary, the latest on the plight of the 110 that was on the Clotilda by Kyle Hamrick. This is in Lagniappe. I recommend anybody to read the Lagniappe. It's the only place you're going to get the real good news, research on stories. The Clotilda has been a story that has been developing now for 2 years, and looks like they're going to open up a museum over there and everything else. So it's, I'm looking forward to it. It needs to be done. It should, that type of history doesn't need to be forgotten. But it's a 2-page cover story article. So get a copy of it and find out just the history of the local area here.
So I have a family history story related to this too that I will save for later. But all I can tell you is that, I have a different perspective on the motives of the Mayer family for bringing these people over here. You got to understand that the people that chased the boat, the Clotilda, into the Delta, and the reason they burned it and ran away was because it had been illegal during these people's lifetimes to import another human being. Okay,
right.
So since 1815, it had been illegal, and this happened like what, 1840?
Yeah,
something like that. So most of the people involved, it had been illegal during their entire lives. There were no boats. There was no, it wasn't like this Atlantic Triangle slave trade was still going on necessarily. I'm not saying that it stopped, but boats certainly weren't coming to Pensacola. There wasn't a slave market in Pensacola when all this was going on. That had been
right. Lot of information out there about Africatown and all of this coming about.
But I want to talk to you about why they did this documentary. So, Book TV this weekend, they had Mississippi and Southern Author Spotlight, and there were several good books, and Ben Raines was one of the people up there on the panel talking about this. And so there's one documentary that's already been done that National Geographic did, where they and Ben talked about this on the C-SPAN thing, where he had to sue them so that they would give him credit for finding the boat. They wrote him completely out of the National Geographic story.
I read that. What the hell?
Okay, so anyway, this thing that came out on Friday, the Tell It Forward documentary about the descendants. This is supposedly their side of the story. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Ben Raines, if you go read his book about the Clotilda, he gets into all these social issues about how the mayors, yes, they sold them this property, and they were the first African American community to own their own property and work together collectively to build a future. And then Mr. Mayer surrounded them with heavy industries, like the what do you call it? The Scott Paper Mill was right there, and then they had a little.
As soon as you go over the bridge.
Yeah, but they had a steam plant there too, Paul, because when you're making paper, you get what's called black liquor off the top, and it's and you can burn it. So they were burning that right there, but it's stinky, and it's not. Nobody burns this stuff for a fuel. It's a byproduct that you can burn for a fuel, right?
That is the outlet to the steam plant, isn't it? If the steam plant was to break and flood.
Oh, where would it go? Yeah, it'd come right down the river down there on these folks too.
Right.
So anyway, I thought that was the good part of it, was that it supposedly the story from that community's perspective, and who knows how much of it's accurate at all. We have a lot of records.
Watch them all.
Transaction records.
Watch them all and make up your own mind.
Check them all out. So we missed this last time I had it on here. Did I tell y'all about the dog that fell in the golden retriever that's stuck in the sewer pipe?
Right.
And I
saw it.
You did? Did you see that?
Yeah. They spent hours getting him out.
Kind of preposterous. And then, of course,
oh my God!
As we face global thermonuclear war for the first legitimate time since I've been born that I can remember, Tuberville is out there he can't shut up. And then he was on Capital Journal, and he said, "Well, Tom, I come from the corporate world, the business world, where we say what we mean, and we don't cut." And I'm sitting there going, "You are a glorified school teacher. You were a college football coach.
Man, oh man, oh man! I tell you,
and let me say this: have you seen the picture of him and the dude in the limo, all slicked up in their Versace suits? Okay, well, the dude sitting next to him that was his business partners making big rocks into little rocks, and nobody knows how Tuberville avoided all that. But when he says I came from the corporate side of things, if he means crooked robber barons, that would be slightly more accurate. So,
I tell you, man,
said.
Well, what about him getting $5 million not to coach?
I love it.
Coach.
I
that's
mean,
what Auburn paid him, $5 million not to coach.
Since Terry Bowden, that's been our way, man. So one more thing, Paul. Did you know that the Escambia County, the Florida Ethics Commission voted to recommend to Governor Ron DeSantis that a sitting Escambia County, Florida commissioner be removed from office? And my comment was Escambia County, Florida, and Baldwin County, Alabama are separated by a small river geographically, but a huge chasm when it comes to ethics. Would you agree with that? This guy
Alabama has no ethics. There is no ethics, period. It does not exist. Not as long as Mr. Albritton's sitting up there.
Yep. So just another thing that's kind of preposterous. See, if I was on the other side of the river, none of this would be happening right now.
Well, you look all the way around you, man. Your lottery is everywhere. We're the only ones without a lottery. Medical marijuana, they're making up new rules when it already exists in many states and the tax base is already there. Not here.
All right, I want to know who owns the land and who's going to do the building design and who's going to be the contractor and who's, you know what I mean? All my kind of questions when I see a project like this pop up, Paul.
From out Jailtown or where?
So it's proposed by the sheriff. He's looking for $5 million for a forensics building in Baldwin County.
Oh my God! Wow, how much for the jail? $65 million. Now $5 million for this?
Well, why didn't we just put a morgue in the basement of the jail?
Really?
Or a morgue in the basement of the health department?
This is out of control, man. Out of control.
It will never end, and all of these so-called Republicans who think that we're going to legislate our way into utopia.
Really? And you talking about your taxes, people? And you worried about taxes? Look what the hell you're spending money on.
So with the potential increase in the deaths in the county, that's the reason we need this, Paul. Got nothing to do with anybody's business.
We don't need a separate building. When you're building a 60, why didn't they think about it then and incorporate it all together? And then aren't they building a justice center there in Jailtown too for Bay Minette?
That's my understanding.
So you're going to have, let me get this straight. So you're going to have a Bay Minette Justice Center. Then you're going to have this Baldwin County forensic building. And then you're going to have this 903-bed jail all in Bay Minette, Jailtown. That's what they call a jailtown, folks. All right, I'm out of here.
Preposterous. All right, Mr. Ripp, you have a good weekend. Everybody, we'll see you next time, and we'll leave you with this moment of zen.
Bam!